It's Monday, June 18th. Welcome to Pastor Bob Daily. So I want to begin today a series of 5 podcasts called 5 Serious Flaws of the Modern Church. Now I realize that's a loaded subject and some of you are already getting a little upset with me. I wanted to lay some ground rules first. Number 1, I'm not against the church at all. I grew up in a little country church with just a few people, and I have some of the fondest memories of my life in that little church. It's where I got saved. And I really enjoy sitting in a traditional church singing hymns. I know I don't look much like that, but I do. And so I love the church, and this is an indictment against the church. This is an encouragement to the church. Now I'm talking about the church as people together, and I'm also talking about those of you that meet in a building called the church. I think these 5 things are really important. Number 1, hostility towards each other is the biggest problem. You know, we usually choose judgment instead of encouragement as we deal with each other. And you know, the truth of the matter is this: we really shouldn't judge each other just because they sin differently than we do. Did I get your attention? You know, that's our problem mostly. None of you that are listening to me right now are without sin. You just sin differently. And we get really upset with people who don't sin the same way that we do, or sin outside of our box, and sometimes who sin with the very same things. It's true. But we have a lot of hostility. And we begin to judge other people because they sin. Let me give you a case in point. Last week, or the week before, I did a podcast on smoking. Somebody asked me, will I go to heaven if I smoke, basically? And I said, you don't go to hell for smoking, you just smell like you've been there. And we talked about smoking. And I got a lot of interesting comments on that one. Many of them very, very self-righteous. Now, let me make an observation. I looked at the pictures of most of the people that were giving some of the most critical, self-righteous advice. Most of them were very overweight. And I wonder what's worse. What you smoke, cigarettes, or what you put in your mouth and eat. And what do people die of? Well, lots of people these days are dying of obesity. Now I realize that's coming from somebody that is overweight. But I'm also a vegan, and I'm really working on it. Mine is due to health problems. And I understand, folks, that all of us have cross to bear, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else or worse than anybody else. We all sin differently. But isn't it interesting that that was the case? In fact, one person said this: I have never seen anyone who smokes have a consistent walk with the Lord. Wow. How about I've never seen anybody who eats too much chocolate or eats too much McDonald's French fries and burgers, or, we could have put anything in there. And that's an interesting comment. But see, we really are critical of people who sin differently than we do. We're so quick to condemn most of the time. But we usually don't see our own obvious faults, and they're all connected. That's the problem. Instead of judging each other, the Bible tells us to encourage one another. Hebrews 3:13 says, but encourage each other every day while you still have something called today. Help each other so that none of you will be fooled by sin and become too hard to change. Well, a lot of people are becoming too hard these days, and you know what? Most of it's because of our condemnation. The more you condemn each other, the more you judge each other, the more you point that finger at each other, the more you also drive them away. Some of you that are listening to me have been on the other end of that. You've been driven away. I want to encourage you. Two things. If you're in a church right now where you're being condemned all the time, seriously, you don't have to stay. Find a body where you're encouraged. You know, the Bible talks about encouragement as being such an important thing. And encouragement goes a long, long ways. We need to be encouraging each other toward love and good deeds instead of pointing the finger and discouraging each other and wiping each other out and usually causing people to just leave, period, and never come back to any church or anybody. So encourage one another. And if you're on the other end of that and you're not being encouraged, please find a place that encourages you, a group of believers that will encourage you and stand with you. And if you're one of those people that keep shaking your finger at people and discouraging them, would you please rethink that? Because a lot of the finger pointing is because of your own sin and your own guilt. Get through it. Get healthy. Be encouraged. This is one of those times I wish I had an hour. We'll talk about this in another podcast. But tomorrow, number 2 in 5 serious flaws of the modern church. God bless you. Have a great day.